Before we begin this long, gentle journey into the heart of history's most enduring mysteries, imagine yourself settling into a quiet space where time slows down, where the rush of the day fades into the background, and the world grows soft around the edges. This documentary is meant to be a companion in those still moments, when curiosity remains awake, but the body seeks rest, and the mind is ready to drift between the known and the unknown. Tonight, or whenever you may be listening, we step into the delicate borders where facts end and wonder begins. It is a place where the past hums softly, like a distant echo, and every mystery whispers an invitation to linger a little longer. Human history is not a straight line, but a tapestry woven with bright threads of certainty and darker strands of unanswered questions. Some moments stand out clearly, illuminated by evidence, logic, and discovery. Others hide themselves in shadows, blurred by lost records, forgotten cultures, unexplained events, and the silent passing of time. It is in these shadows that our journey takes shape. Rather than trying to force the unknown into clarity, we move gently, observing with quiet fascination. We allow the mysteries to remain what they are, enigmatic, timeless, and strangely comforting. As you listen, you may notice that each story, no matter how puzzling, carries a rhythm, a soft pulse beneath its surface. These aren't mysteries designed to frighten or disturb. Instead, they are invitations to explore the spaces where imagination and history meet. Many of the enigmas we'll explore have puzzled researchers for decades, even centuries. Some were born from civilizations that vanished long before our languages, technologies, or modern understanding existed. Others are tied to individuals who walk the earth much like we do, yet left behind questions far greater than the details of their lives. And then there are events, moments in time that erupted into the world like sparks, leaving behind trails of confusion and endless theories. In this opening stretch, we prepare ourselves for the journey ahead by letting go of urgency. There is no rush to find answers here. Instead, we will drift through each mystery at a gentle pace, allowing the calm of the narrative to settle into the mind. The world is filled with unsolved puzzles, but tonight, they become companions rather than challenges, soft points of light guiding us through the deeper corridors of the past. Picture ancient landscapes where forgotten civilizations once thrived, entire cities alive with voices, music, rituals, and aspirations. Now imagine those same cities silent, their secrets buried beneath sand, forest, or ocean. Some mysteries emerge from these abandoned places, carrying with them the delicate weight of all we do not know. Other mysteries rise from explorers who set out bravely but never returned, leaving behind only fragments of their intentions. And then there are artifacts, small objects that whisper contradictions, hinting that the timeline of human capability may stretch further or differently than we ever imagined. Later in this documentary, we will visit impossible stone structures that stand like giants watching over history. We will descend into underwater ruins swallowed by the tides. We will follow the patterns of stars that guided ancient astronomers, and we will navigate the peculiar codes and languages that no one has ever fully understood. We will meet enigmatic individuals whose very existence feels like a riddle, and we will examine events that slip between scientific explanation and enduring mystery. Some phenomena belong to the Earth itself, strange, liminal places where reality seems to bend, just slightly, as though hinting at different layers of understanding hidden beneath our everyday experience. But for now, in these first moments, the purpose is simpler: to breathe, to settle, and to allow the mind to soften as the world grows quiet. Mysteries have a way of grounding us, reminding us that the universe is far larger than any single life, and that not knowing everything is part of what makes us human. There is peace in accepting that some stories have no final chapter, no neat conclusion, only endless possibilities. As we move deeper into the narrative, imagine yourself walking through dimly lit corridors of time. Each mystery we encounter will be like a doorway left slightly ajar, inviting you to peer inside, but never demanding that you step all the way through. This gentle approach mirrors the way historians and researchers often work, not with explosions of discovery, but with patient observation, careful interpretation, and an understanding that silence is also a form of knowledge. The aim of this documentary is not to solve everything, but to create a space where your curiosity can breathe without pressure. Whether you remain fully awake or drift gradually into sleep, each story is designed to flow like a quiet river, steady and unhurried. The deeper currents of wonder will carry you forward, while the rhythm of the narration supports your relaxation. You may find your thoughts wandering, imagining ancient landscapes, forgotten cultures, or star-filled skies. That is not a distraction. It is part of the experience. And so, with the world around you dimming and your mind opening to the soft call of history, we begin. Ahead lies a vast collection of mysteries, some profound, some strange, some beautifully simple. Together, they form a journey that stretches across continents, cultures, and centuries. As we step toward the first of these enigmas, allow yourself to drift, to wonder, and to rest in the comfort of the unknown. The night is long, the stories are patient, and the mysteries are ready to unfold at a pace as calming as a fading heartbeat. Across the wide expanse of human history, there are civilizations that glow brightly for a moment and then fade into silence, leaving behind only fragments, broken walls, scattered pottery, unfinished carvings, and questions that echo softly across time. As we begin our descent into the world of vanished cultures, imagine standing beneath a sky that has watched countless empires rise and fall. The ground beneath your feet holds the stories of people who lived full lives, built cities, raised families, worshipped their gods, and somehow disappeared so completely that only the faintest traces remain. These lost worlds exist like whispers beneath the sands, inviting us to listen closely, to imagine gently, and to accept that some chapters of humanity may forever remain half-written. Picture the ancient city of Mohenjo-daro in the Indus Valley, once a thriving urban center with intricate drainage systems and carefully planned streets. Its people walked along orderly lanes, traded goods, cooked meals, and lived ordinary lives in a world that feels distant yet strangely familiar. And yet, at some point, these thousands of inhabitants left without leaving a clear explanation. There are no grand inscriptions telling us what happened, no monumental ruins depicting disaster or conquest, only a quiet abandonment. Some theories speak of climate change, shifting rivers, or disease. Others hint at gradual decline. But as we look upon empty brick foundations, we are reminded of how fragile even the most advanced societies can be. Under the warm glow of history's lamp, the question remains, how does a fully developed civilization vanish so softly, leaving barely a trace of its final days? Far to the northeast, hidden for centuries until their rediscovery, the mysterious Sangsingwi ruins offer a different kind of puzzle, one carved in bronze, gold, and supernatural imagery. The artifacts uncovered there feel almost otherworldly, with large, idol-like faces possessing enormous eyes and elongated features. They stand in sharp contrast to the artistic traditions of their neighboring regions, suggesting a culture with beliefs, rituals, and aesthetics unlike anything else in ancient China. And just as the Indus Valley civilization slipped into obscurity, the Sangsingwi culture disappeared, leaving behind only the remnants of its ceremonial life. There are no records explaining who they were or why they chose to bury their treasures so carefully. Their sculptures stare at us across time, unblinking and inscrutable, as though holding secrets humans are not yet meant to understand. Moving westward, the Nabateans, famed builders of Petra, carved their city into rose-colored cliffs, creating a landscape both architectural and poetic. The facades of Petra shimmer in the desert light, glowing softly at dawn and dusk like the embers of a fading memory. At their height, the Nabateans controlled trade routes, negotiated with empires, and mastered the art of capturing and storing water in one of Earth's harshest landscapes. And then, their presence thinned. As Roman influence grew and trade patterns shifted, the Nabatean identity dissolved. Their language faded, their rituals ended, and their once great society folded quietly into the larger current of history. Today, Petra stands as a dream carved in stone, a monument to a people whose voice is mostly gone, but whose beauty remains. Each vanished civilization carries a distinct tone, a different rhythm of disappearance. Some fade gradually, like a candle burning low until its wick can no longer sustain the flame. Others slip away abruptly, leaving behind only silence where thousands of voices once echoed. Yet all share a sense of incompleteness, as though history left a page unfinished. The earth remembers them, even when we do not. The soil holds their bones, their tools, their pottery shards, waiting for curious hands to discover them once more. Consider the Olmecs, one of the earliest known civilizations in Mesoamerica. They left behind colossal stone heads with serene, enigmatic expressions, each weighing several tons. Their settlements once bustled with life, creativity, and spirituality. They set the foundation for cultures that followed, the Maya, the Aztecs, but their own disappearance remains a soft puzzle. Climate shifts, resource exhaustion, political change. Each theory is plausible, and yet none fully captures the quiet finality of their departure. Their giant stone faces continue to watch the jungles, timeless observers of a world that has long since moved on. Even more fleeting are the cultures whose names we may never know. Small settlements swallowed by forests, riverbanks where entire communities dissolved into myth, islands where inhabitants once built monuments to their gods before vanishing completely. Among these are the people of Easter Island, often imagined in connection with the towering Moai statues that gaze inland with solemn patience. The society that crafted these immense stone figures experienced a dramatic rise and a mysterious decline. Though modern research offers explanations involving environmental strain and shifting political structures, the true emotional landscape of their final years is lost. We are left only with the statues, silent and steadfast, bearing witness to a civilization's long journey and quiet retreat. As we walk mentally through these abandoned worlds, it becomes clear that disappearance does not always mean destruction. Often, it means transition, cultures merging into others, languages evolving, traditions transforming until they become indistinguishable from new identities. In this sense, vanished civilizations are not gone. They are absorbed, their stories woven into the tapestry of human experience. We feel their influence even when we cannot see their faces clearly. What ties these mysteries together is the contrast between the evidence left behind and the vast spaces left unsaid. We find foundations without stories, artifacts without instructions, symbols without translations. It is a reminder that the past is always larger than the pieces we hold in our hands. Standing before the ruins of an ancient city, one cannot help but feel both small and deeply connected, caught between the certainty of what we know and the wide horizon of what we never will. Yet there is a gentle comfort in this. The unknown transforms the past into something alive, something that breathes softly through the gaps in our knowledge. These civilizations, though silent now, continue to inspire imagination. They call to us in the same way dreams do, vague, atmospheric, filled with fragments that feel meaningful even when they resist interpretation. They invite us to slow down, to observe, to wonder without needing answers. And as we prepare to drift toward our next mystery, the focus shifts from entire cultures to individual souls, explorers and adventurers who followed the call of the unknown, only to become mysteries themselves. Just as civilizations can vanish in a time, so can people, leaving behind trails that end abruptly and stories that linger in question. The quiet disappearance of great cultures now leads us toward the quiet disappearance of great explorers, as our journey continues deeper into history's most haunting enigmas. There is something uniquely haunting about the mysteries left behind by explorers, individuals who set out toward horizons no one had mapped, driven by equal parts curiosity, courage, and quiet obsession. Unlike vanished civilizations, which disappear collectively, these lone figures slip into the folds of history one by one. Their stories feel intimate, almost personal, as though each disappearance carries the echo of a single heartbeat fading into the vastness of nature. As we drift into this realm of exploration gone silent, imagine the soft hum of distant forests, the gentle crackle of polar ice, or the quiet roll of ocean waves, landscapes that swallowed their footsteps and kept their secrets close. One of the most compelling of these tales belongs to Percy Fawcett, a British explorer whose name is forever tied to the dense, breathing wilderness of the Amazon. Fawcett was not just an adventurer, but a man captivated by the idea of a lost city he called the, a place he believed held the remnants of an advanced and forgotten civilization. With his son and a trusted companion, he stepped into the green labyrinth of the jungle in 1925. Letters he sent during the early days of his expedition described optimism, determination, and that familiar spark found in those who chase the unknown. But then, the letters stopped. No distress signal was ever found, no abandoned campsite, no scattered equipment, only silence. Countless rescue attempts followed, yet the forest remained unchanged, absorbing every clue before it could surface. Whether Fawcett met an unfortunate end, found the city he dreamed of, or chose to disappear intentionally, the truth remains hidden beneath layers of vines, time, and imagination. Far from the humidity of the Amazon lies a mystery forged in cold, relentless silence: the fate of the Franklin expedition. In 1845, Sir John Franklin and his crew embarked on a mission to chart the Northwest Passage, a frozen corridor linking the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. They sailed with two of the most technologically advanced ships of their day, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, vessels strengthened for polar ice, stocked with provisions, and manned by seasoned sailors. Yet despite their preparation, neither ship ever returned. For years, only fragmented stories emerged. Inuit oral histories spoke of starving men wandering across the tundra. Abandoned artifacts hinted at desperate attempts to survive. When the ships were finally discovered in recent years, remarkably preserved beneath Arctic waters, new layers of mystery surfaced rather than answers. Why did the expedition fail so catastrophically? What decisions were made in those final, bitter days? The snow holds those secrets gently, as though protecting the dignity of the men who disappeared into its endless white expanse. From icy seas, the narrative shifts to the boundless skies, where another mystery has drifted softly through time: the disappearance of Amelia Earhart. She was a pioneer of aviation, a symbol of courage, and a figure whose presence inspired millions. In 1937, during her attempt to circumnavigate the globe, her plane vanished somewhere over the Pacific Ocean. The world listened as radio operators strained to catch fragments of her voice, but the static swallowed her final messages. Search missions swept vast stretches of ocean, scanning waves that rose and fell without revealing anything. Even now, decades later, theories range from mechanical failure to crash landings on remote islands. Yet none feel definitive. Amelia's disappearance remains suspended in a place between tragedy and legend, a reminder that even the most open skies can conceal the fate of a determined soul. Each of these explorers stepped willingly into environments that exist on the edge of human endurance. Their stories highlight a contrast that has followed humanity for centuries: our desire to know the world versus the world's quiet ability to remain unknowable. Nature, in all its beauty, can also be a keeper of secrets. The Amazon, lush and teeming with life, becomes a maze where sound moves differently and familiar landmarks vanish. The Arctic, bright and shimmering, can erase tracks, preserve bodies, or hide entire ships beneath ice. The ocean, vast and rhythmic, holds more mysteries than any other realm on Earth. When an explorer disappears into these spaces, it is not always violence or chaos that takes them. Sometimes it is simply the enormity of the world embracing them, absorbing the last trace of human presence. But beyond the physical landscapes, there is also a psychological dimension to these mysteries. Many explorers pursued their goals with a fervor that bordered on obsession. Percy Fawcett's belief in Z was more than a theory, it was a calling. Franklin's mission represented the ambition of empires. Amelia Earhart's final flight was a declaration that human limitations could always be pushed further. Their motivations create pathways of empathy. We feel their dreams, their determination, and the quiet hope that must have filled the moments before they crossed into uncertainty. This emotional connection is part of what keeps their stories alive. They remind us that history is shaped not only by victories and discoveries, but by the unanswered stories of those who chase something just beyond reach. Throughout these tales, there exists a peaceful melancholy, a gentle tension between what we know and the vast silence beyond it. We can picture Fawcett stepping through thick jungle leaves, unaware that his footprints would be the last anyone ever saw. We can imagine Franklin's crew gathering around a lantern, watching frost form on its glass while unknown challenges loomed outside. We can feel the hum of Earhart's aircraft as it glided over waters so wide and deep that they seemed to stretch into forever. These images do not frighten. Instead, they cradle us in the understanding that mystery is part of the human journey. Every explorer accepts risk, believing that discovery outweighs the fear of the unknown. What they leave behind, however, is more than artifacts or maps. They leave behind a sense of poetic incompletion. Their final chapters were written somewhere nature alone can read. And perhaps that is why these stories endure. They allow the imagination to wander gently, to fill in the quiet spaces with possibility rather than certainty. Listeners can drift between versions of these tales, choosing whichever interpretation rests most softly in their mind. As we move toward the next phase of our journey, the transition happens almost naturally. If entire explorers can slip out of history without leaving clear answers, then what are the objects they sought, or the relics discovered in places that challenge our assumptions? Just as human ambition can vanish into the wilderness, ancient artifacts can emerge unexpectedly from the ground, carrying messages that feel out of place, out of time, and beyond the reach of simple explanation. These objects, strange and compelling, offer mysteries of their own, quiet puzzles carved into metal, stone, or parchment. And so, with the soft echo of lost explorers still lingering in our thoughts, we drift toward the enigmatic world of artifacts that challenge the boundaries of history itself. Throughout history, certain objects have emerged from the earth like quiet contradictions, artifacts that seem to whisper that the past may have been more complex, more inventive, or more interconnected than we once imagined. These discoveries do not shout. They do not reveal their secrets in a single glance. Instead, they rest in our museums and archives like puzzles waiting patiently for someone to understand them. As we drift into this chapter of mysteries shaped by human hands, imagine yourself in a dimly lit room, the air still and cool, with a single artifact resting under soft light. You lean closer, sensing immediately that something about it does not belong to the era in which it was found. These are the objects that feel out of time, enigmatic pieces of human history that challenge our assumptions and expand the boundaries of what we believe ancient civilizations were capable of. One of the most emblematic of these objects is the Antikythera mechanism. Found in a shipwreck beneath the Aegean Sea, it appears at first glance to be nothing more than corroded bronze fragments. Yet when its gears were studied, researchers realized the mechanism was something extraordinary, an ancient Greek device capable of calculating celestial events, lunar phases, and planetary cycles with remarkable precision. For decades, it seemed impossible that such engineering existed over 2,000 years ago. Modern imaging techniques revealed layers upon layers of gears so delicate they rival the craftsmanship of 18th century clockmakers. And yet, this device was created long before the concept of mechanical clocks existed. Its sophistication stands in gentle defiance of historical timelines, suggesting knowledge either lost, isolated, or far more advanced than expected. The unanswered question hums beneath the surface. Was this device a unique marvel, or a surviving piece of a much broader tradition we may never fully rediscover? Another intriguing object is the so-called Baghdad battery. Unearthed in Iraq and composed of a clay jar, a copper cylinder, and an iron rod, its structure led some to speculate that it could have functioned as a primitive galvanic cell. Whether it was used for electroplating metals, ritual practices, medicinal purposes, or something entirely unknown remains uncertain. Scientific opinions vary, gently oscillating between skepticism and possibility. What makes the artifact compelling is not whether it truly generated electricity, but the space it opens in our imagination. It reminds us that ancient experimentation might not align with the frameworks we expect. Human curiosity has always been inventive, and the Baghdad battery stands as a soft invitation to reconsider the creativity of early civilizations. Then there is the Piri Reis map, drawn in the early 16th century by an Ottoman admiral who claimed to have compiled it from far older sources. What makes this map so mesmerizing is not simply its age, but the details it contains. Coastlines drawn with surprising accuracy, annotations hinting at lands explored before Europeans officially arrived, and representations that stir debates among historians and cartographers. Some claim the map suggests knowledge of Antarctica's coastline before it was officially discovered. Others believe it reflects skilled interpretation rather than first-hand observation. What remains undeniable is that the Piri Reis map feels like an echo of forgotten voyages, or perhaps the survival of geographical knowledge carried quietly through cultures far older than the parchment itself. Across the world, in the depths of the Klerksdorp region of South Africa, tiny metallic spheres have been discovered, objects so perfectly shaped and finely grooved that they appear almost manufactured. Yet they come from geological layers billions of years old, long before human civilization existed. Skeptics describe them as natural formations. Believers call them evidence of unknown processes or technologies. The truth, like many mysteries, lies somewhere softly in between. Whether created by unique geological pressure or by a mechanism beyond our understanding, the spheres embody a quiet reminder that the Earth still holds secrets far older than humanity's earliest memories. Even smaller artifacts carry enormous weight in the realm of mystery. Carved stones, metal tools, intricate beads, and unexpected symbols sometimes emerge from archaeological sites where they seemingly do not belong. A Roman-style statue found in Mexico, coins discovered in places far beyond their expected trade routes, or fragments that hint at contact between cultures believed never to have met, all contribute to the gentle unraveling of established timelines. While some finds can be explained through trade, shipwrecks, or misinterpretation, others remain suspended in uncertainty, inviting us to drift between scientific caution and the wonder of possibility. These artifacts are intriguing not because they demand radical rewritings of history, but because they illuminate the gaps between what we think we know and what may have truly been. They are reminders that the ancient world was not static. It was dynamic, curious, interconnected, and filled with experiments, ideas, and creativity that sometimes left no written record. Each artifact is like a lantern shining in the darkness, revealing just a small part of a much larger landscape of forgotten knowledge. And within these objects, there is also a gentle humility. They show that history is not a fixed structure, but a living, breathing organism shaped by continuous discovery. The Antikythera mechanism softens the assumption that ancient engineering was primitive. The Baghdad battery suggests that even in antiquity, thinkers might have played with concepts of electricity. The Piri Reis map hints at connections and explorations that textbooks have not fully captured. These artifacts do not shout out loud. They whisper quietly, urging us to listen more closely to the past. As we hold these mysterious objects in our thoughts, it becomes clear that they are not anomalies. They are bridges. Bridges between cultures, between eras, and between the known and the unknown. They remind us that human history is not only shaped by what has survived, but also by what has been forgotten. They show how easily knowledge can be lost, buried, or hidden within ruins and shipwrecks, waiting for centuries before someone uncovers it again. In the dim glow of this realization, we begin to sense a deeper truth, that the past is filled with marvels we may never fully understand. And this is not unsettling. In fact, it is comforting. The mystery adds texture to our shared human story, transforming history into a quiet, contemplative space rather than a rigid archive. These artifacts become companions on our journey, guiding us through corridors where logic meets wonder and evidence meets imagination. As this section gently draws to a close, the transition ahead emerges naturally. If single objects can disrupt our expectations, what of the immense structures built by ancient hands? The temples, towers, stone circles, and colossal blocks that stand across continents, silent, enduring, and sometimes impossible to explain by conventional means, offer mysteries of their own. Objects spark curiosity, but vast architectural feats ignite both awe and disbelief, stretching our understanding of ancient skill to its limits. And so, with the soft glow of these out-of-time artifacts still lingering in our minds, we drift toward the next chapter of our journey, into the realm of megastructures, where ancient engineers shaped stone and earth in ways that continue to mystify even the most seasoned scholars. Across the world, scattered across deserts, mountains, plains, and forgotten ancient landscapes, stand megastructures that feel almost impossible. They rise out of the earth like colossal memories, immense stones arranged with such precision, weight, and intention that even modern engineers pause to wonder how they were created. These structures do not merely occupy space, they radiate presence. Whether carved, lifted, aligned, or assembled, they whisper of civilizations whose ingenuity far exceeded what conventional timelines credit them with. They stand silent but expressive, guardians of eras long gone. As we drift deeper into this chapter of ancient engineering, imagine walking through a quiet valley at dawn, the first light brushing against monolithic stones that have watched thousands of suns rise before this one. One of the most captivating of these structures is Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey. At over 11,000 years old, it predates pottery, writing, agriculture, and established cities. Yet it boasts pillars arranged in circles, with animal carvings etched into limestone surfaces. These pillars, some weighing several tons, were shaped and erected by communities traditionally classified as hunter-gatherers. That alone reshapes our understanding of human development. How could a society without agriculture dedicate resources to building such a vast ceremonial complex? How did they carve and transport such heavy stones with only the most primitive tools? The site's intentional burial tens of centuries later adds an additional layer of mystery, as though its builders wanted to protect it or hide it from future eyes. Every stone at Göbekli Tepe whispers an ancient truth. The past was not simple. It may have been far more sophisticated, spiritually rich, and interconnected than we imagine. Far to the south, in Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza rises with a majesty that has inspired awe for millennia. Even today, the precision of its construction defies easy explanation. The alignment with cardinal points, the accuracy of internal passages, the sheer scale of its limestone blocks, all invite contemplation. Although mainstream theories describe methods involving ramps and manpower, the logistics remain staggering. Tens of thousands of workers, countless hours, and unconditional dedication would have been required. Yet the pyramid stands not as a mark of labor alone, but as a testament to ancient vision. Within its chambers, silence feels dense, as though holding echoes of ritual, mathematics, astronomy, and cultural memory. While scholars debate the pyramid's true purpose, tomb, celestial observatory, ceremonial structure, the mystery remains intact. Its endurance, through time, turns it into a symbol of humanity's relentless search for cosmic connection. Not far from the pyramids, but further into the heart of mystery, lie the massive stone platforms of Baalbek in Lebanon. The most astonishing feature is the trilithon, three colossal stones, each weighing hundreds of tons, resting with such perfect alignment that no gap appears between them. Nearby, even larger stones lie partially quarried, weighing more than 1,000 tons. Modern cranes struggle with loads of this magnitude, and yet these ancient builders position them with astonishing skill. How they move these stones remains one of archaeology's gentler puzzles. Some theories mention advanced rollers and ropes. Others suggest gradual movement over long distances. But none fully satisfy the imagination. Standing before the trilithon blocks, one senses an engineering confidence that seems almost impossible for its time, a sense that the builders understood something that we no longer do. Across the ocean, high in the Andes, rests the citadel of Machu Picchu. Its terraces, temples, and dwellings appear to grow out of the mountain itself. The Inca carved stones with such precision that they fit together seamlessly without mortar, resisting earthquakes that shake the region to this day. The site's blending with its natural environment creates a soft harmony, architecture not imposed on the landscape, but woven into it. As mist drifts across its terraces, Machu Picchu feels suspended between earth and sky, a place where engineering achieves serenity rather than dominance. Its function remains debated: royal estate, sacred center, astronomical hub. The ambiguity adds a dreamlike quality to its walls, leaving visitors with a sense of reverence and quiet reflection. Traveling further, the megalithic wonders of Stonehenge rise on the English plains, a circle of stones whose purpose remains elusive. The alignment of its pillars with solstices suggests a profound understanding of celestial cycles. The sourcing of its stones from distant quarries speaks to enormous effort and coordination. Yet what Stonehenge meant to its builders continues to hover between theory and myth. Was it a ceremonial gathering place? A healing center? A cosmic calendar? The stones offer no direct answer. They simply stand, enduring wind and time, inviting the mind to wander gently among possibilities. In Easter Island, the Moai statues embody yet another form of ancient mastery. Carved from volcanic rock, these enormous figures were transported across the island without modern machinery. Each Moai carries a calm, contemplative expression, watching over the land with a presence that feels both protective and sorrowful. The techniques used to move the statues remain a subject of debate. Some researchers suggest ropes and rocking motions. Others propose methods involving logs or sledges. Like many ancient marvels, the truth may be a blend of ingenuity and cultural motivation, a combination strong enough to move mountains. Or in this case, to move giants. What ties all these structures together is the gentle contrast between what they physically are and what they emotionally evoke. A block of stone becomes a message. A circle of pillars becomes a calendar. A carved monument becomes a memory. Each structure represents both human skill and human longing. The desire to reach upward, to create something enduring, to shape the world in ways that echo through time. These architectural feats challenge our assumptions, nudging us to consider whether ancient knowledge was more expansive or simply more attuned to natural forces than we currently believe. As you imagine walking through these sites, the atmosphere around them feels strangely peaceful. The weight of history does not crush, it comforts. The stones do not boast, they whisper. The silence they hold is deep but gentle, like the stillness before soft rain. There is no urgency in understanding the engineering behind them. Instead, There is the calm acceptance that some mysteries do not require answers to be meaningful. Their purpose in this quiet exploration is not to prove something, but to evoke wonder, to let the mind drift between admiration and curiosity. These megastructures also remind us that human beings have always looked beyond themselves, drawn to the unknown with a mixture of fear and fascination. Whether aligning stones with stars, carving mountains into temples, or shaping entire cities from rock, ancient civilizations express their beliefs and aspirations through monumental creation. These structures still speak to us, not through inscriptions or text, but through presence. They are bridges across time, connecting our modern thoughts to ancient intentions. As we prepare to move from land to sea, the transition feels natural. For just as ancient cultures shaped mysteries upon the earth, others built their lives along coastlines that would eventually vanish beneath rising waters. The ocean, with its deep blue expanse and shifting currents, has its own secrets to share. Cities swallowed by tides, structures lost to storms, and entire landscapes hidden beneath waves. With the echoes of stone monuments still lingering in the imagination, we now drift gently toward the mysteries that lie beneath the world's oceans, where silence is thicker, time moves slower, and forgotten histories rest just out of reach. Beneath the surface of the oceans lies a world where time moves differently. Light fades into blue shadows, sound travels as muffled echoes, and forgotten histories rest under layers of sand and shifting currents. The sea has always been both a creator and a keeper of secrets. Entire landscapes have sunk beneath its waves. Cities that once thrived with markets, music, temples, and quiet daily rhythms. When we think of sunken worlds, it is easy to imagine dramatic events. But more often, these places slipped slowly beneath rising waters or geological shifts, leaving behind structures that the ocean embraced with gentle, persistent patience. As we drift into this chapter, imagine yourself floating just beneath the surface, looking down into a world frozen in silence, illuminated only by beams of soft, shimmering light. One of the most evocative underwater sites is Yonaguni, located near the coast of Japan. At first glance, it appears to be a series of massive stone terraces, staircases, and flat surfaces carved with astonishing precision. The shapes look intentional. Sharp angles, right corners, and layered platforms suggest an architectural hand. Yet the debate continues. Are these formations the work of ancient humans, or are they the result of natural erosion acting in unusual harmony? Divers who visit Yonaguni describe the sensation of exploring a drowned monument, its lines and edges forming the ghostly outline of a forgotten structure. Whether crafted or carved by nature, the site invites a gentle curiosity. It feels like a doorway into a world that once breathed air but now sleeps beneath shifting tides. Not far from the Mediterranean coastline lies the once great Egyptian city of Thonis Heracleion, submerged for more than 1,000 years. For centuries, it existed only in ancient texts and whispered legends. When divers finally discovered it, they found colossal statues resting peacefully on the seabed, still wearing their serene expressions. Temples, foundations, stone tablets, and ceremonial objects lay preserved within the quiet embrace of the waters. Unlike many lost cities, Thonis Heracleion did not vanish suddenly. The gradual sinking of the land, combined with soil liquefaction, pulled the vibrant port city beneath the waves. Now, it sleeps gently under the Mediterranean, a reminder that even grand civilizations can succumb to shifts in the Earth's embrace. As divers move through its submerged remains, it feels as though the city is breathing softly, suspended in a tranquil dream. Traveling southeast, the coast of India holds another underwater mystery, the city of Dvarka. Long described in ancient texts as a magnificent kingdom built by the deity Krishna, it was often considered myth. Yet archaeological discoveries beneath the Arabian Sea revealed structures and artifacts aligned in patterns that suggest urban planning. Walls, foundations, and remnants of an ancient harbor. Though researchers continue to debate the city's age and origins, Dvarka's existence invites contemplation about how myths and history intertwine. Sometimes, stories preserved for thousands of years are not merely tales, but memories carried across generations, waiting for rediscovery. The underwater city feels like a calm echo of a vibrant world, the sea's slow currents moving gently through spaces where people once lived, celebrated, and dreamed. Further west, near Greece, lie the remains of Pavlopetri, one of the oldest known submerged cities in the world. Its streets, courtyards, tombs, and buildings sit remarkably preserved beneath clear waters. Standing above its mapped layout, it is easy to picture life unfolding there. Clay pots carried along walkways, families gathering in open courtyards, boats docking at a shoreline, now long underwater. Pavlopetri's submergence was gradual, caused by repeated flooding and tectonic shifts. The ocean did not swallow the city violently. Instead, it folded it into its depths with slow, rhythmic patience. This gentle descent gives the city an almost peaceful aura, as though it accepted its transition from bustling port to underwater memory. And then there are sunken landscapes that do not fit neatly into historical narratives. Vast ruins, isolated stone structures, or unexplained features resting silently beneath waves. Off the coast of Cuba, sonar scans once detected geometric shapes arranged in highly structured patterns deep below the surface. Some interpreted them as the foundations of an ancient city. Others attributed them to natural geological formations. The extreme depth makes exploration difficult, adding a layer of quiet mystery. The ocean, with its endless layers of blue, often reveals only hints before reclaiming them, reminding us that some secrets remain as gentle possibilities rather than confirmed histories. In each of these underwater worlds, contrast defines the experience. There is the contrast between movement and stillness, the ever-shifting water above and the silent, unmoving ruins below. There is the contrast between the clarity of ancient engineering and the obscurity created by time and sediment. And finally, there's the contrast between what we wish to understand and what the ocean prefers to keep softly hidden. The sea preserves and distorts simultaneously. Structures that would crumble on land remain intact underwater for centuries. But details erode, inscriptions fade, and delicate objects dissolve into the sand. What remains are outlines, shadows, and gentle hints, fragments that invite us not to solve but to imagine. These underwater cities become dreamlike spaces where the past feels both close and unreachable. There's also something soothing about the ocean's role as a storyteller. Its waves seem to speak in slow rhythms, pulling us into a contemplative state. The world underwater is quiet, not silent, but layered with muted sounds of drifting currents, distant marine life, and the faint hum of movement. This quietness makes the ruins feel sacred, as though we are entering a space not meant for noise or haste. Exploring submerged cities becomes an act of listening to the water, to the stones, and to the absence that fills the spaces where life once thrived. The mysteries beneath the waves also remind us of Earth's constant transformation. Coastlines shift, islands rise and sink, oceans expand and retreat. What seems permanent in one era may vanish in the next. These changes connect us to a long, rhythmic cycle that stretches far beyond human memory. Sunken cities are not only relics of the past, but markers of the planet's ongoing evolution. They embody the idea that history is fluid, always moving, always reshaping itself, much like the water that covers them. As we drift toward the next chapter of our journey, the transition happens almost effortlessly. For just as some mysteries lie beneath the ocean, others stretch upward into the sky. Cultures throughout history have looked to the heavens for meaning, interpreting the stars as messages, maps, or mirrors of human destiny. Celestial alignments, cosmic patterns, and ancient observatories await us, quiet reminders that the sky holds secrets just as profound as those resting underwater. And so, with the soft motion of underwater ruins still lingering in our imagination, we rise slowly from the depths, gently breaking the surface. Ahead lies a world shaped not by waves, but by starlight, where humanity sought understanding in the patterns above rather than the landscapes below, and where mystery shines softly through the night sky. For as long as humans have walked the earth, the night sky has been both a map and a mystery, an endless canvas of shimmering points that seem to speak in patterns older than memory itself. When ancient people looked upward, they saw not just stars, but stories woven across the heavens. They believed the sky held messages, rhythms, and cycles that shaped the world below. Long before telescopes or equations, long before written charts or modern instruments, people studied the sky with a devotion that was patient, poetic, and deeply spiritual. As we drift into this chapter, imagine yourself standing in a quiet open field at night. The air is cool, the ground steady beneath your feet, and above you stretches a sky filled with distant fires, each one pulsing with the quiet heartbeat of the cosmos. One of the most iconic ancient structures tied to celestial observation is Stonehenge. While often known simply as a circle of stones, its true depth emerges when viewed through the lens of astronomy. The monument aligns with the solstices, capturing the rising and setting of the sun with remarkable precision. On the longest day of the year, sunlight pierces the center of the arrangement, positioning itself in perfect harmony with the structure. For ancient peoples, such alignments were not mere curiosities. They were sacred markers of time, seasons, rituals, and cosmic understanding. The stones seemed to hold the light, guiding it gently, as if acknowledging the sky's influence on the rhythms of life. Whether used as a ceremonial site, seasonal calendar, or spiritual gathering place, it remains a silent testament to the ancient relationship between earth and sky. Far across the Atlantic Ocean, the structures of Chichen Itza in the Yucatan Peninsula reveal another kind of celestial mastery. The ancient Maya built the pyramid of Kukulkan with a unique intention. At the equinoxes, shadows fall along its steps in a way that creates the illusion of a serpent descending the pyramid side. This interplay of architecture and sunlight shows a deep awareness of solar movement and a symbolic connection to their gods. The Maya believed time moved through cycles, and their calendars, intricate, mathematical, and astonishingly accurate, reflected this view. When one stands before the pyramid today, watching light and shadow dance in perfect coordination, it becomes clear that the ancient world merged scientific observation with spiritual meaning in a way that feels harmonious, not divided. In the arid plains of Peru, another celestial mystery unfolds across vast stretches of land, the Nazca Lines. These enormous geoglyphs, shapes of animals, geometric designs, and winding pathways, are etched into the desert floor with such scale that they can only be fully seen from above. Some scholars believe they relate to astronomical events or alignments, perhaps marking solstices or the paths of celestial bodies. Others suggest they were ritual walkways or offerings to sky deities. Whatever their purpose, the Nazca Lines embody a profound connection between human expression and the universe above. They feel like messages written not on paper, but upon the earth itself, intended for the eyes of gods or for the stars to witness in their quiet nightly vigil. In other parts of the world, ancient observatories like Chaco Canyon's Fujata Butte reveal sophisticated knowledge of sun and moon cycles. Here, shafts of light move across carved petroglyphs in precise, intentional ways. During solstices and equinoxes, specific patterns appear: sun daggers, crescents, or shifting bands of illumination. These effects were not random. They required careful design, placement, and observation over generations. Standing at such a site, one can imagine ancient astronomers waiting through long seasons, watching the sky with patient dedication, mapping each change, each shadow, each movement of the celestial sphere. Celestial mysteries are not limited to structures alone. Ancient star maps from cultures across the world reveal knowledge that continues to fascinate researchers today. The Aboriginal Australians, for instance, created intricate stories tied to star patterns, using them to navigate, track seasons, and teach moral lessons. Their constellations include not only stars but also the dark spaces between them, shapes formed from the absence of light, showing a unique way of seeing the sky. Similarly, the Dogon people of Mali are often discussed for their detailed knowledge of the Sirius star system, though interpretations of their traditions vary. What remains compelling is the sense that their cosmology merges myth, spirituality, and astronomy into a unified worldview. The ancient Chinese, too, watched the heavens with precision. Their star charts, some among the oldest in the world, recorded comets, eclipses, and supernovae with careful detail. These events were often interpreted as omens or messages, bridging the gap between science and divine meaning. The sky served as both a calendar and a cosmic narrative, reflecting harmony or imbalance, prosperity or warning. This connection between celestial observation and earthly governance created a system where rulers looked upward as often as outward, believing the heavens revealed truths that extended beyond human reasoning. Even in ancient Britain, Ireland, and Scotland, stone circles, passage tombs, and carved monuments align with lunar cycles, star positions, and specific seasons. Sites like Newgrange capture the sun's rays during the winter solstice with breathtaking precision, illuminating inner chambers that remain dark for the rest of the year. These illuminations may have symbolized rebirth, renewal, or communication with ancestors. They remind us that ancient cultures viewed light and darkness not simply as physical states, but as metaphors woven into the deepest layers of their belief systems. What ties all these celestial mysteries together is the gentle contrast between the stillness of ancient structures and the constant motion of the sky. The stones remain rooted in the earth, unchanging and timeless, while the heavens shift above them with nightly grace. The alignment between the two speaks of a harmonious relationship, a quiet conversation between humans and the universe. In the patience of ancient astronomers, we sense a kind of meditative reverence. They watched the heavens not for conquest or control, but for understanding, for familiarity, for a sense of belonging within the vast, swirling cosmos. As we pause to reflect on these mysteries, there is a comforting thought that emerges. The sky above us is the same sky ancient peoples gazed upon thousands of years ago. The stars may appear distant, but they connect us across time. When we look upward today, we stand in the same cosmic theater, sharing the same view that guided our ancestors' stories, rituals, and architectural feats. This continuity softens the edges of time, making history feel alive and gently intertwined with the present. Yet for all the knowledge ancient cultures gained from the heavens, there remain symbols, writings, and messages that have resisted translation. As we leave behind the wide-open sky and descend back toward the earth, the transition feels natural. For just as humans use stars to guide their lives, they also carve their questions, stories, and philosophies into scripts and codes whose meanings have faded with time. These undeciphered languages hold mysteries of their own, silent, waiting, and deeply compelling. And so, with the glow of the stars still lingering softly in the mind, we prepare to enter the next realm of our journey, a world of symbols, manuscripts, and written puzzles that continue to whisper across the centuries, inviting us to understand messages that remain just beyond reach. Across the quiet stretches of history, long after monuments have weathered and cities have fallen, there remain symbols and scripts that whisper from the edges of understanding. They are fragments left behind by cultures who believed that meaning could be preserved through writing. Yet time, with its slow erosion, has blurred their messages until only the shapes remain, beautiful, puzzling, and silent. These undeciphered scripts exist like gentle pauses in the narrative of human knowledge, reminding us that even with all our advancements, some voices from the past speak in tones we can no longer interpret. As we drift into this chapter, Imagine a dim library at night. The air carries the faint scent of old parchment, and scattered across a wooden table lie manuscripts whose words refuse to reveal themselves. Among these mysteries, the Rongorongo script of Easter Island stands quietly at the forefront. Carved into wooden tablets using flowing lines and stylized figures, it represents a writing system that no one alive today can read. The symbols depict people, animals, plants, and abstract shapes, each one elegant, deliberate, and imbued with meaning now lost. The island's oral traditions, once vibrant, weakened after contact with outsiders, allowing the script's context to fade. What remains is a sequence of signs whose grammar, purpose, and stories lie just beyond comprehension. Some believe Rongorongo records genealogies or rituals. Others think it may encode chants or historical accounts. Whatever its purpose, it carries the weight of a culture whose voice has softened into whisper. Even more enigmatic is the Voynich manuscript, a book filled with looping script, fantastical plants, celestial diagrams, and pages adorned with scenes that seem to exist in a dreamlike state. Written in an unknown language or cipher, it has resisted centuries of attempts to decode it. Linguists, mathematicians, cryptographers, and curious minds alike have studied its pages, searching for patterns that might unlock its secrets. Yet the script dances just out of reach, revealing complexity without clarity. The drawings deepen the intrigue. Flowers that resemble none on Earth, astrological charts with unfamiliar symbolism, and strange bathing scenes that evoke ritual more than science. Whether the manuscript is an elaborate hoax, a coded text, or the record of an isolated imagination, it remains one of history's gentlest puzzles, a book that invites wonder rather than demands answers. Another quiet enigma is Linear, the script of the Minoan civilization on Crete. Unlike earlier or later scripts of the region, Linear has never been fully interpreted. It appears in accounting records, inscriptions, and ceremonial objects, but its language remains unknown. We can recognize its shapes, tally its symbols, and compare it with other writing systems, yet its meaning stays hidden like a shoreline beneath fog. The Minoans left behind vibrant art, intricate architecture, and evidence of advanced trade networks, but their written voice, their self-expression, their stories, their beliefs, remains locked away. Linear stands as a soft reminder that history often offers fragments rather than full narratives. There are other undeciphered writings scattered across the world. The Indus Valley script with its delicate symbols pressed into seals, the Phaistos disc, stamped with spiraling pictographs unlike anything else in the ancient Aegean, forgotten runes etched into stones that have stood quietly for centuries. Each one feels like a hand reaching across time, offering something meaningful that we cannot quite grasp. Their silence is not frustrating. It is calming in its own way, a gentle acceptance that not all mysteries are meant to be solved. Together, these scripts form a bridge in our journey, connecting the vast mysteries of the sky to the intimate mysteries of human expression. Where celestial alignments revealed grand cosmic patterns, these undeciphered writings reveal the inner lives of people, their thoughts, rituals, and reflections, now softened into ambiguity. They invite us to listen not with understanding, but with patience and imagination. As this section comes to a close, the next transition emerges almost naturally. For just as scripts can conceal the stories of civilizations, individual lives can become wrapped in layers of mystery. Some people move through history like flickering lanterns, seen briefly, remembered vaguely, and forever surrounded by questions. And so, with the quiet symbols of ancient scripts still resting in our thoughts, we step gently into the world of enigmatic individuals whose identities and destinies continue to drift between fact and legend. Some mysteries do not belong to entire civilizations or vast landscapes. Instead, they are carried within the lives of individuals, people whose identities, origins, or destinies drift in the space between fact and folklore. These figures move through history like shadows illuminated only briefly, their stories lingering long after their voices have fallen silent. As we step into this chapter, imagine walking through a quiet hall of portraits, each face partially faded by time, each pair of eyes holding questions that were never fully answered. These individuals left behind traces, but not explanations, creating mysteries that breathe softly in the gaps of recorded history. One of the most haunting of these personas is the man in the iron mask. Though his story is often dramatized, the essence of a mystery is simple. A prisoner held in various French fortresses during the reign of Louis XIV, always concealed behind a mask that prevented anyone from seeing his face. His true identity was kept secret, his movements carefully restricted, his existence mentioned in letters and reports, but never clarified. Some believed he was a political threat. Others thought he was a noble relative whose identity could destabilize the throne. Theories even suggested he was a twin of the king, a displaced royal, or a witness to dangerous knowledge. Yet despite centuries of speculation, the man remains nameless. His silence, his mask, and the secrecy surrounding him create an atmosphere of quiet melancholy, a reminder of how easily a single life can slip into the realm of legend. Similarly enigmatic are the Green Children of Woolpit, a pair of siblings who, according to medieval accounts, appeared in an English village with skin tinted green and a language unfamiliar to anyone. Frightened and hungry, they spoke softly in sounds no one recognized. The villagers cared for them, and as the children adapted to their new life, their skin gradually lost its unusual color. The boy, fragile and overwhelmed, died shortly after arrival. But the girl survived and eventually learned English. She described coming from a dim, twilight world, where the light was softer and the sun never shone brightly. Whether her words were metaphor, memory, or misunderstanding remains uncertain, but her story holds a dreamlike quality, one that leaves listeners suspended between reality and myth. Were the children travelers from a distant place, victims of famine, or symbols born from the imaginative storytelling of time? Their presence in history feels like a soft ripple across a quiet pond, the details fading as quickly as they appeared. Another figure shrouded in mystery is Caspar Hauser, who surfaced in 19th century Germany claiming to have lived his entire life in a small dark cell with minimal human contact. When he appeared, he carried almost no knowledge of the outside world, barely able to speak or walk independently. His sudden emergence stirred public curiosity and sympathy, but also suspicion. Caspar's personality was gentle and childlike, yet his past held shadows no one could illuminate. Some believed he was an abandoned heir to a noble family, hidden away to manipulate inheritance lines. Others thought he was a troubled youth creating elaborate stories. His life ended tragically when he was mortally wounded under mysterious circumstances, leaving behind more questions than answers. Caspar Hauser remains a figure whose innocence and secrecy blend into a soft, lingering sadness, an unresolved chapter of human vulnerability. There are other individuals whose identities were never known, yet whose existence shaped legends. Consider the case of the Somerton man in Australia, discovered lifeless on a beach in 1948 with no identification and a cryptic note tucked inside his clothing. Despite extensive investigation, no clear explanation emerged about who he was or how he died. His calm posture and the absence of struggle added an eerie stillness to the story, as though he simply drifted out of life and into mystery. Only a few belongings, a torn piece of poetry, and faint traces of coded messages remain as hints of a story no one fully understands. Even older is the mystery of the princes in the tower, two young heirs to the English throne who vanished while under the protection of their uncle, Richard III. Their disappearance created a silence that echoed through centuries. Historians have debated their fate endlessly, but the truth lies buried with the walls that once held them. Their story is a reminder of how fragile safety can be, how power can cloud truth, and how the lives of children can be swept into political storms beyond their control. These enigmatic individuals share a common thread. They lived at the edges of understanding, their stories preserved not because of their achievements, but because of their questions. They are the gentle puzzles of humanity, single lives that cast long shadows. In each case, the contrast between what is known and what is imagined creates a space where curiosity settles comfortably. Their mysteries do not demand answers. They invite reflection. They allow us to think about identity, fate, and the fragile connections that shape human experience. When we examine their stories carefully, we find layers of meaning. The Man in the Iron Mask shows the quiet power of secrecy within political structures. The Green Children reveal how communities interpret the unfamiliar. Caspar Hauser reflects the emotional complexity of isolation and discovery. The Somerton Man speaks to the quiet dignity of an unknown life, left behind without explanation. The Princes in the Tower remind us that history is not always just. Sometimes, it is shaped by silence and fear more than truth. Each of these individuals appears briefly in the historical record, like a candle flickering in a dark corridor. Their presence illuminates a small space, and then they vanish, leaving the flame of mystery behind. Instead of frustrating the modern mind, these stories offer comfort in their ambiguity. They teach us that the past still holds secrets that resist our attempts to categorize, analyze, or define. In a world where so much information is available instantly, there is something calming about mysteries that cannot be fully unraveled. As this section gently closes, the transition to the next chapter begins to take shape. For if single lives can hold such deep mysteries, then events themselves, moments that appear suddenly and inexplicably, carry an even more powerful sense of wonder. History is filled with strange occurrences, sudden disappearances, and phenomena that defy conventional explanation. These events ripple outward, touching entire communities or leaving behind relics that puzzle researchers for centuries. And so, with the quiet faces of these enigmatic individuals still lingering in our thoughts, we drift toward the next realm of mystery, the strange, unexplainable events that shape the course of history, leaving behind echoes that still resonate softly today. History is shaped not only by the rise and fall of civilizations or the lives of enigmatic individuals, but also by strange, sudden events, moments when the ordinary rhythm of life was interrupted by something so unexpected that it left confusion in its wake. These events exist like ripples across time, brief, intense, and difficult to explain even centuries later. Some were witnessed by thousands, others by only a few, yet each one endures as a soft puzzle in the collective human memory. As we move into this realm of unexplained occurrences, imagine yourself walking through a quiet landscape where time feels unusually still, as though waiting for something beyond logic to unfold. These mysteries are not loud or frightening. They're bewildering moments wrapped in silence, hovering between the natural and the extraordinary. One of the most striking of these events took place in June of 1908 in the remote Siberian wilderness near the Tunguska River. Without warning, an immense explosion flattened over 2,000 square kilometers of forest. Trees were blown down in circular patterns, felled like matchsticks pointing away from a central point. Yet despite the devastation, no impact crater was ever found. Witnesses miles away reported a bright flash, a fireball streaking across the sky, and shockwaves that rattled windows and shook the earth. Modern explanations often lean toward a meteor or comet fragment exploding in the atmosphere, but the absence of debris deepens the mystery. In the quiet of the forest today, regrowth masks the violence of that moment, leaving behind an unsettling contrast, a peaceful landscape that once experienced a force greater than any human-made explosion. Another perplexing event unfolded in Europe in the summer of 1518, when the dancing plague struck the city of Strasbourg. It began quietly, with a single woman stepping into the street and dancing without rest. Soon dozens joined, moving relentlessly for days on end. They danced through exhaustion, through pain, and some even danced until they collapsed. Theories suggest mass hysteria, ergot poisoning from moldy bread, or religious mania, yet none fully explain the scope or intensity of the phenomenon. The image of a crowd dancing uncontrollably feels surreal, almost dreamlike, especially when seen against the backdrop of a time deeply affected by famine, disease, and social tension. The silence of history leaves us without answers, offering instead a soft, unsettling reminder of how fragile the boundary is between the mind and the world around it. The seas hold their own share of inexplicable events, none more iconic than the mystery of the Mary Celeste. In 1872, this merchant ship was found drifting in the Atlantic Ocean, fully intact, with its cargo untouched and no signs of struggle or violence. The crew, however, had vanished without leaving behind a single clear clue. Personal belongings remained neatly arranged, meals appeared left mid-preparation, and the lifeboat was missing. Theories range from piracy to seaquakes, from mutiny to sudden panic triggered by fumes from the ship's cargo. Yet none fit perfectly. The Mary Celeste now feels like a floating question mark, a vessel frozen in time, carrying the absence of its crew like a ghostly echo across the waves. When we imagine sailors suddenly leaving a sturdy ship for an unknown fate, the mystery becomes both haunting and strangely quiet. On land, the disappearance of the lighthouse keepers on the Flannan Isles adds another layer to these unexplained events. In 1900, relief crews arrived to find the lighthouse functioning but abandoned. The clocks had stopped, meals were partially eaten, coats were missing, yet the keepers were nowhere to be found. The isolation of the Isles, battered by fierce winds and towering waves, suggests that nature may have played a role. But the untouched state of the lighthouse interior hints at something more puzzling. The three men left behind no footprints, no signs of a struggle, no messages. It is as though they stepped out of reality and into myth. The lighthouse still stands, watching over the empty sea, its light reaching out into the darkness, much like the unanswered questions that surround the event. Natural disasters also carry mysteries, moments when the earth behaves in ways that defy expectation. In 1814, London experienced what became known as the Great Beer Flood. When a massive brewery vat ruptured, over 1 million liters of beer surged through the streets, flooding homes and causing chaos. While the physical cause is understood, the event feels strangely surreal, almost like something from folklore. People described waves of dark ale rushing through alleys, filling basements, and even sweeping passers-by off their feet. Torn between tragedy and absurdity, the event stands as a reminder that history can be unexpectedly bizarre, blurring the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary. There's also the unsettling phenomenon known as the Dyatlov Pass incident. Though more recent, it has become one of the most discussed mysteries of the 20th century. 9 experienced hikers ventured into the Ural Mountains and never returned. Their tent was found slashed open from the inside, and their bodies were scattered across the snowy slope under circumstances that defied explanation, some dressed inadequately for the cold, others bearing unusual injuries. While many theories have been proposed, from avalanches to military experiments, none fully account for the combination of evidence. The snow-covered pass remains quiet today, its silence holding the story gently, as though protecting the hikers' final moments from the intrusion of certainty. When we examine these events together, a common thread emerges, the contrast between the normal world and the moments when it suddenly shifts. A forest becomes the site of an unexplained explosion. A town square becomes a stage for uncontrollable dancing. A ship becomes an empty shell drifting across the sea. A lighthouse becomes a monument to absence. These events remind us that despite our attempts to categorize and understand everything around us, the world retains pockets of unpredictability, spaces where logic softens and possibilities expand. There is something comforting in acknowledging that not all events can be neatly explained. Uncertainty allows the imagination to breathe. It offers room for wonder, contemplation, and the quiet pleasure of dwelling in questions rather than answers. These mysteries are not threats. They are stories suspended in time, beckoning us to listen to the stillness they left behind. As this section draws to a close, the next transition begins to form gently. For while some mysteries arise from sudden events, others are woven into the very landscapes where they occurred, places that seem to hold strange energy or unusual patterns. These locations have long been associated with folklore, unusual behavior, or unexplained phenomena. They are not merely the scenes of strange events, but characters in the story themselves. And so, with the quiet echoes of inexplicable happenings still drifting through our thoughts, we now move toward the next realm of mystery, the places where reality blurs and the unknown seems woven into the land itself. There are places on Earth where the ordinary fabric of reality seems to thin, where landscapes hold an uncanny stillness or peculiar energy that cannot easily be explained. These places are not always remote. Some sit near familiar shorelines, beneath mountain peaks, or within quiet rural fields. Yet they share a quality that is difficult to name, a sense that the boundary between the natural and the mysterious has softened. As we enter this chapter, imagine wandering through a landscape that feels both peaceful and subtly strange, where each gust of wind, each shift of shadow, carries a whisper of something unusual. These locations have gathered stories over generations, becoming symbols of the unknown woven directly into the earth itself. One of the most well-known of these enigmatic regions is the Bermuda Triangle, a vast stretch of ocean between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. Over the decades, numerous ships and aircraft have reportedly vanished within its boundaries, often without distress signals or debris. The sea here can be stunningly beautiful, crystal blue, calm, and serene, yet the stories attached to it create a gentle sense of unease. Pilots have described compass malfunctions, disorienting mists, and sudden weather shifts that defy conventional understanding. Mariners have spoken of waves that rise without warning or horizons that seem to blur for moments at a time. While scientific explanations point towards strong currents, unpredictable storms, and human error, the mythic aura of the triangle persists. Its mystery is not rooted only in disappearances, but in the contrast between its tranquil surface and the bewildering events attributed to it. Far across the ocean, another place of quiet mystery can be found at the base of Mount Shasta in Northern California. This striking volcanic peak rises abruptly from surrounding forests, its snowy summit often shrouded in drifting clouds. For centuries, Mount Shasta has been the subject of legends, stories of hidden civilizations dwelling within its caverns, spiritual energy radiating from its slopes, and inexplicable lights moving across its night sky. Visitors speak of a profound calm that settles over them while hiking its trails, as though the mountain holds a gentle, ancient presence. Some cultures believe it to be a sacred site, a place where the physical world intersects with the spiritual. Whether these sensations stem from natural beauty, geological uniqueness, or imagination, the mountain retains an atmosphere that feels quietly enchanted. Then there are places where strange footprints or physical signs appear without explanation. In the winter of 1855, residents of Devon in England awoke to find mysterious tracks in the snow, deep, evenly spaced, and extending for miles across fields, rooftops, and even riverbanks. The prints resembled those of cloven hooves, but their path defied normal animal movement. They crossed walls, ascended snow-covered roofs, and continued without pause across landscapes where no creature could reasonably travel in a straight line. The event sparked fear and fascination. Some believed the prints were made by animals. Others thought they belonged to something supernatural. The mystery has never been fully solved. Today, the story endures as a gentle reminder of how even the simplest phenomena, tracks in fresh snow, can evoke wonder when they do not align with expectation. Throughout the world, there are forests known not for their wildlife, but for their atmosphere, places where the trees seem to grow in strange patterns or where sounds echo with unusual clarity. The Aokigahara Forest in Japan, also called the Sea of Trees, has become infamous in modern times, yet its deeper history reflects centuries of folklore describing spirits and echoes that move through its dense vegetation. The forest floor is soft with volcanic soil, and the canopy blocks out much of the light, creating a hushed environment where even a single footstep can feel amplified. The stillness is profound, almost dreamlike, and while explanations for its atmosphere are grounded in geography, the forest carries a presence that lingers in the imagination. In Romania, the Hoia Baciu forest has been associated with strange lights, distorted magnetic fields, and unusual sensations experienced by visitors. Trees here sometimes grow in twisted, spiraling shapes, bending in ways that seem unnatural yet undeniably real. Photographs taken within the forest show floating orbs or faint glows, though skeptics point to dust particles and reflections as possible causes. Still, those who walk its winding paths often speak of a feeling that is difficult to describe, a sensation of being observed or of stepping briefly outside the familiar rhythm of the world. The forest's beauty is undeniable, but so is its mystery, creating a gentle tension between serenity and curiosity. The world also holds locations associated with unusual geological or atmospheric phenomena. In the American Midwest, the Marfa Lights of Texas have appeared as glowing orbs drifting across the desert horizon, flickering in colors of red, white, or yellow. These lights appear unexpectedly, moving in ways that seem independent of human activity. Some explain them as reflections from distant headlights or atmospheric distortions, while others insist their movements are too unusual to be dismissed so easily. Observers describe the lights as playful, almost alive, drifting gently across the plains before fading into the night. What binds all these places together is the way they blur the boundary between perception and reality. They prompt us to ask not only what is happening, but why certain landscapes evoke such powerful impressions. Sometimes the mystery lies in natural forces, magnetism, geology, weather patterns. Other times, it may be shaped by human stories passed down through generations, transforming ordinary locations into mythic spaces. But regardless of origin, the feeling these places create is undeniable. They invite silence, contemplation, and an awareness of the unknown that feels less threatening than humbling. There is something soothing about standing in a landscape that defies easy explanation. These places remind us that the world still contains pockets of wonder, regions where human understanding is incomplete and where stories continue to grow, shaped by imagination, environment, and the quiet resonance of the past. They offer a gentle counterbalance to the certainty we seek in modern life, encouraging us to rest in the presence of mystery rather than resist it. As this section comes to a close, the transition toward the next chapter begins to take form. For while landscapes can hold a sense of enchantment, cultures throughout history have also created rituals and rites that preserve mystery intentionally. These ceremonies, often shrouded in symbolism, served as gateways between the physical and the spiritual, the visible and the concealed. And just as strange landscapes blur the boundary of reality, ancient rituals blur the boundary of meaning. With the atmosphere of these mysterious places still lingering softly in your thoughts, we now drift toward the world of rites and ancient ceremonies, where secrets were protected through tradition and the unknown was embraced not with fear, but with reverence. Throughout human history, rituals have served as bridges between the known world and the unseen realms believed to influence it. These ceremonies, rich with symbolism and layered meaning, often held secrets that were never written down. Instead, they were passed through generations in whispers, gestures, and rhythms, protected within the memories of initiates. As we step into this chapter, imagine standing at the threshold of an ancient temple at dusk. Lanterns glow softly, smoke from incense drifts into the air, and distant chanting echoes like a heartbeat. The world around you feels suspended, as though time itself has slowed to make room for the sacred. One of the most mysterious traditions in the ancient world was the Eleusinian Mysteries of Greece. For nearly 2,000 years, people traveled to the city of Eleusis to participate in a secretive initiation based on the myth of Demeter and Persephone. The rituals were said to reveal profound truths about life, death, and rebirth. Yet no one who experienced them ever recorded their details. Silence was part of the initiation, and this vow was honored remarkably well. Historians have attempted to reconstruct the ceremonies from scattered hints. A procession at twilight, sacred objects carried in hidden containers, a moment of revelation within a darkened hall. But the true essence of the mysteries remains elusive. The power of these rites lies not only in what happened, but in the fact that they were protected from the erosion of time, preserved in secrecy rather than script. Across the world, in indigenous cultures, shamanic practices formed another pathway to the unknown. Shamans acted as intermediaries between the physical and spiritual realms, using drumming, dancing, chanting, and altered states of consciousness to communicate with forces unseen. These rituals often took place in nature, beside rivers, atop mountains, or deep within forests, where the boundary between the human world and the spiritual world was believed to be thin. Each symbol, each gesture, carried layers of meaning accessible only to those trained in the tradition. To outsiders, the rituals might have appeared chaotic or dreamlike. Yet within their cultural context, they offered healing, guidance, and protection. The wisdom of shamans was often expressed through metaphor and myth, making it difficult for modern researchers to translate into purely analytical terms. But perhaps that is the point. These ceremonies were not meant to be dissected, but experienced. In ancient Egypt, temple rituals also blended spiritual meaning with precise, almost scientific observation. Priests performed daily ceremonies to honor the gods, believing that their actions maintained cosmic balance. They recited sacred texts, cleansed statues, offered food, and conducted symbolic gestures representing the renewal of life. Many rituals were recorded, yet others remained hidden within the priesthood. Some involved rites of transformation, intended to guide the soul through the afterlife. These rituals created a bridge between the earthly and divine realms, reinforcing the belief that life continued beyond physical existence. Even today, the quiet chambers of Egyptian temples feel charged with the weight of unspoken rites, a soft echo of prayers once whispered into darkness. There were also secret societies in various cultures whose rites involved symbolic journeys through darkness, trials of courage, and initiations designed to transform the participants' understanding of the world. The Mithraic mysteries of the Roman Empire are a prime example. Carried out in subterranean temples carved to resemble caves, these rituals likely reenacted the myth of Mithras slaying the cosmic bull. Initiates progressed through stages marked by symbols of the stars, planets, and elements. Like the Eleusinian Mysteries, these rites were never written down. Their meaning must be interpreted from statues, carvings, and the layout of the sanctuaries. Standing in one of these dim, stone chambers, one can almost sense the solemnity that once filled the air, the quiet anticipation of participants seeking wisdom beyond the reach of ordinary life. What connects these rituals is not only their secrecy, but their intention to provide insight into realms beyond direct perception. They reminded participants that the world is layered, that understanding requires humility, and that some truths cannot be grasped through logic alone. These ceremonies balanced contrast, darkness and light, fear and comfort, death and renewal. They offered a space where mystery was not a problem to be solved, but a presence to be honored. As this section gently concludes, the transition to the next chapter arises naturally. For in exploring rituals that reached into the unseen, we come to another powerful aspect of human experience, prophecy and vision. Throughout history, certain individuals believed they could glimpse the future or interpret signs from beyond. Their words shaped empires, guided decisions, and left behind predictions that still stir curiosity today. And so, with the quiet echoes of ancient rites still resonating softly in your imagination, we drift now toward the realm of prophets, seers, and those who claim to speak with the voice of time itself. Throughout history, people have turned toward those who seem to possess insight beyond the ordinary, individuals whose visions, dreams, and predictions captured the imagination of entire cultures. These figures stand at the edge of the known world, their words drifting between wisdom and enigma. Some were revered, others feared, but all carried an aura of mystery that continues to echo across time. As we move into this chapter, imagine a quiet chamber lit only by candle flame. Shadows dance on ancient walls. An air of expectation fills the space. This is the realm where prophecy and intuition meet, where the boundary between the present and the future softens like mist at dawn. One of the most famous prophetic figures of the ancient world was the Oracle of Delphi. Perched on the slopes of Mount Parnassus, the shrine drew leaders, travelers, and seekers from across Greece. They came to consult the Pythia, the priestess who, in a trance-like state, delivered cryptic messages believed to come from Apollo. These pronouncements were rarely direct. They were layered in symbolism, their meaning revealed only through careful interpretation. Kings made decisions based on her warnings, generals chose strategies from her counsel, and philosophies were shaped by her riddles. Modern scholars propose geological explanations for her trance, such as gases rising from fissures beneath the temple. Yet even with scientific theories, the power of the oracle lies not in its mechanics, but in the deep reverence people held for this gateway between the divine and the mortal. Her words, floating like delicate threads through history, remind us that uncertainty itself once held sacred meaning. Far from Greece, in the landscapes of medieval Europe, another prophetic voice emerged, Nostradamus. His writings remain some of the most debated texts in history, filled with poetic quatrains, symbolic imagery, and references that seem to shift with each reader. His predictions have been interpreted in countless ways. Some believe he foresaw major historical events. Others argue his verses are purposely vague, designed to fit many possible outcomes. What is undeniable is the tone of his work, dreamlike, layered, and often unsettling. The mystery lies not only in the predictions, but in the way his words continue to ripple through time, appearing in moments of collective anxiety or curiosity. Whether one believes in his visions or not, the quiet magnetism of Nostradamus persists, reminding us of humanity's enduring desire to peer into the shadows of the future. In the cold northern reaches, the Icelandic Volva, female seers steeped in Norse tradition, held a role both mystical and practical. These women traveled from settlement to settlement, performing rituals that involved chanting, drumming, and entering a trance to communicate with unseen forces. Their visions guided communities through harsh winters, storms, and uncertain times. Clad in cloaks adorned with symbolic items and accompanied by assistants who sang to support their trance, the Volva embodied a connection between the people and the world of spirits. Their prophecies were not merely predictions, but reflections of cultural values, fears, and hopes. The rhythm of their chants carried a gentle, hypnotic quality, echoes of which still resonate in surviving sagas and oral traditions. Prophetic traditions also held profound significance in the indigenous cultures of the Americas. Many tribes believed in vision quests, a practice where individuals sought insight through solitude, fasting, and communion with nature. Prophecies emerged not through words alone, but through symbols found in dreams, animals encountered, or natural patterns observed during their journeys. These visions guided personal paths, spiritual practices, and community decisions. Unlike written prophecies that sought to define specific events, these traditions focused on harmony, balance, and understanding one's place within the natural world. Their quiet wisdom contrasts with the dramatic interpretations often associated with prophecy, offering instead a gentle, introspective approach to glimpsing the unknown. In ancient China, The art of divination reached its own heights through practices such as the I Ching. Rather than predicting fixed futures, the I Ching revealed patterns, shifting energies that helped align human actions with the flow of life. Scholars, emperors, and philosophers consulted it not as a fortune-telling tool, but as a mirror reflecting deeper truths. The core idea was that the universe moved in cycles, and that by observing these cycles with patience and clarity, one could navigate uncertainty with wisdom. The peaceful guidance of the I Ching stands as a reminder that prophecy can be more about understanding ourselves than foreseeing external events. There were also individuals whose visions became legends not through formal roles, but through singular moments of insight. Joan of Arc, for example, claimed to hear divine voices guiding her actions, leading her to become a pivotal figure in history. Whether mystical or psychological, her experiences continue to inspire debate. What remains compelling is her unwavering conviction, an inner certainty that seemed to transcend doubt. Her story embodies the delicate balance between belief, intuition, and destiny, reminding us of how the unseen can shape the visible world. Each of these prophetic traditions shares a common thread: the blending of mystery with meaning. Prophecy has never been solely about prediction. It is about interpretation, symbolism, and the human need to understand our place in a vast and unpredictable world. The words of oracles, seers, and visionaries often feel poetic rather than literal, offering guidance through metaphor rather than instruction. They invite listeners to reflect, to search inward, and to find comfort in the presence of forces that may lie beyond everyday perception. In exploring these stories, we encounter a gentle contrast: certainty versus possibility, logic versus intuition. Prophecy occupies the space between these opposites, offering neither total clarity nor complete obscurity. Instead, it provides a soft lantern of meaning that illuminates the path just enough to continue walking, even when the future remains hidden. As we reach the end of this section, the transition into the next topic feels natural. Prophecy often bridges the gap between spiritual mystery and scientific inquiry. Some visions seem to align with natural phenomena. Others challenge our understanding entirely. And so the question arises: what happens when mysteries emerge not from ancient tradition or human intuition, but from the scientific world itself? Observations, discoveries, and phenomena that even our most advanced tools cannot fully unravel. With the echoes of oracles and seers still resonating softly in the background, we now move gently into the realm of scientific mysteries, those puzzles that sit at the threshold of knowledge, beckoning us to explore the unknown with curiosity and humility. Even in the modern age, an era shaped by technology, science, and rapid discovery, there remain mysteries that resist full explanation. These puzzles remind us that knowledge, no matter how advanced, still has edges that fade into the unknown. As we enter this gentle realm of scientific enigmas, imagine standing in a quiet observatory at night. Instruments hum softly, screens glow faintly, and the vast sky beyond the glass feels impossibly large. Here, at the intersection of reason and wonder, we find questions that soothe the mind with their openness rather than overwhelm it. One of the most profound mysteries concerns the nature of consciousness. Despite centuries of study, science cannot fully explain how thoughts emerge, how awareness arises, or why the inner world of experience feels so rich and vibrant. The brain can be measured, mapped, and observed, yet the essence of consciousness, the feeling of being alive, aware, and uniquely oneself, remains elusive. It floats between biology and philosophy, occupying a space where observation meets introspection. Some scientists believe consciousness arises from complex neural networks. Others argue it may be a fundamental property of the universe. But for now, the mystery remains a quiet companion to every human life. In the cosmos, another puzzle unfolds in the form of dark matter. Astronomers can observe the motion of galaxies and the bending of light across vast cosmic distances, yet the forces that shape these movements seem to come from something invisible. Dark matter neither emits nor reflects light, but its gravitational influence is unmistakable. It holds galaxies together like an invisible web, creating a cosmic structure we cannot see but can clearly measure. Theories abound: exotic particles, unknown forces, but the substance itself remains hidden, drifting silently through the universe like a shadow without form. Biology holds its own secrets as well. Throughout history, people have reported phenomena that challenge our understanding: unusual genetic mutations, unexplained physical resilience, and rare individuals whose bodies or senses defy typical patterns. Whether these anomalies represent undiscovered scientific principles or simply the vast natural variation of life, they remind us that the human body is both familiar and mysterious. Ancient medical practices, too, hint at lost knowledge, treatments, herbs, and techniques that worked for reasons early cultures understood intuitively, even if modern science has not yet rediscovered the mechanisms behind them. Even the Earth itself presents mysteries. Strange sounds recorded deep within oceans and crustal layers, unexplained lights in remote regions, and geological formations that seem improbable all contribute to the soft hum of questions that linger at the edges of scientific understanding. These puzzles do not weaken science. They enrich it, reminding us that discovery is an ongoing journey rather than a completed map. As we reach the end of this section, a gentle realization emerges. Whether rooted in ancient traditions or modern inquiries, every mystery we encounter, scientific or spiritual, reminds us of the vastness of existence and the beauty of not knowing everything. And with that realization, we prepare to drift into our closing reflection, where the comfort of the unknown becomes a peaceful resting place rather than a puzzle to be solved.